The distraction deficit is obviously at the core of the mental health crisis. We're all suffering a distraction deficit, and we lack focus. That's why we're lost. We lack direction. That's why we can't find our way anymore. And we lack the ability or the roadmap to understand how to get our knowledge, what we know, into an action that can change our lives, into behavior that we can practice every day. What we know and understand is not resulting in action anymore, in behavior that results in growth, contribution, and a spiraling upwards in terms of success, in terms of growth, purpose, and direction. So we're not getting what we know and understand into action anymore. And this is making people even more and more distracted from what they need to do. The reptilian brain is sensation-based in terms of language, so it's always looking to make us more and more impulsive. That's how people get us to buy what they want us to buy. And that impulsivity is because we have a distraction deficit. We don't give ourselves more than a couple of seconds to really let things sink in, consider, reconsider how we feel before we take an action. So in just a few seconds, we make choices, vital and important choices, that become part of our bigger decisions. They're part of what we do daily, and they accumulate into how our lives play out at the end of the day. Add enough small, impulsive daily decisions together, and you can see how we end up being lost in a distraction deficit, even without realizing it. It's diabetes of the brain, and social media is the sugar. So social media, for example, is really an insult to our brains. See, our brains are geared to think, feel, act, and then behave in a manner that helps us grow, achieve, contribute. But what's happening with social media and the distraction deficit is that we're being lost in doing what we don't want to do or need to do. And we need to wake up to this to understand why our lives are in crisis. Well, one of the biggest problems with distraction is that we can be prepped to actually enjoy the distraction. Like a gambler will do at a casino for 5 hours while spending all his monthly income. Or a sex addict might do online, wasting all those hours in distraction. So what you can do is actually become addicted to distraction, to scrolling, to mindlessly watching clips that really don't justify any kind of growth or contribution to your life at all. And you can almost eventually and over time be geared to enjoy this distraction as an addiction. I mean, the proof is that we feel we're missing out. We get FOMO when we don't go near our phones for a couple of minutes or hours. I'm not part of this, or I'm falling behind, is a misconception of our addicted brains. So we feel we need to control what's happening socially with comments, personal knowledge, sharing and posting. We want to make sure that we've stated our case and we're part of things. So that FOMO, even though none of it really matters, is directing what we do. A feeling of burnout really begins to feel normal for lots of people. We tend to try and trick ourselves into performing better as opposed to taking some quality time for ourselves. Well, developing your contemplative intelligence is really the solution to the distraction deficit. Over time, with practicing contemplative practices on a daily basis, you can actually retrain your brain, your lizard mind, to do what you want it to do so that you get the results that you want to get. And it's not that hard to do. The contemplative state of mind is rather a state of being and a way of living. It's about giving and receiving, listening, stillness and movement. It's about learning how to use your mind on purpose. So even long-standing conditions or blocks can be changed in a short period of time. And your neurological chemistry, if practiced over time, can really, really change to give you better results, better growth, and better success in your own life. So the solution is being aware and disciplined, as with anything in life. What we need to do, what we need to teach in schools, in business, is to be able to take a daily detox, probably several times a day. Having dinner without your phone. Using 30 to 60 minutes in the morning without looking at your phone. Doing exercise, for goodness sake, without your phone. Don't multitask. The brain will give you a consequence, a price to pay for that. We can actually only really do one thing at a time. If we think we're multitasking, we're doing 3 or 4 things at a time. No, we're just learning how to switch really well. So we do one thing at a time, then switch between and switch between. So rather than do that and allow the brain to be stressed, simply do one thing at a time. That's how we're geared. So be aware and disciplined. Make sure that you know you need these detoxes daily, hourly. Sleep well. Do not look at your phone an hour before you go to sleep. Make it your intention to do what matters and save yourself 10 years of your life to get ahead in relationships, your career, etc. Some people can do in 1 year what it takes another person 10 years to do. So make no mistake, you're investing in distraction, you're investing in social media, and you're investing in mindlessness, perhaps without even being aware of it. And this is what we need to become aware of today, to be delivered from the depression, the anxiety, the stress and burnout that are resulting from us being distracted from growth and self-esteem and real emotion. So it's simple. You actually enjoy your life. You enjoy the food that you're eating and you become present with it. You listen at conversations, keeping the phone far away. And every time you want to click and pick up and check your phone, you remember the attention deficit and leave it be. More and more businesses are making it compulsory not to have their staff answer calls and emails after hours. I mean, did we think there would be no consequence of people responding to emails, answering calls, sending messages at 11, 12 at night, as opposed to doing it in a 9-to-5 manner? No, this is completely out of balance. And if you're doing things out of balance, the math is that your life will be out of balance soon enough. So our businesses, our schools, our universities, all our teachers have a responsibility to help people understand the attention deficit and how it's created and what destruction it causes in people's lives, psychologically and emotionally speaking. We need to hold big business, big social media companies accountable for what they are doing and make sure that they have programs, information in place to help people understand, grow and recover from what can be burnout, what can become a personality disorder, and what can become a dis-ease of one kind or another. Just like we have warnings at casinos and for gambling and for smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, so we need these warnings and these reminders and these cues to become part of our responsible response. We need to begin to respond responsibly, and that's the social media giants, that's big business, that's your company, our companies, our schools and our universities who need to remind and teach people to understand that the distraction deficit is coming their way like a hurricane if they do not work on becoming aware, accepting that they need to change their behavior, and then doing things differently. Well, using your contemplative intelligence is simply meta thinking. It's simply rising above this mindlessness, all things lizard brain and monkey mind, there is another part of the brain that knows, and you want to activate that part of the brain and then be able to action what you really, really want in your life. If you sit distracted, not doing what you want to do, not achieving what you want to achieve in a 10-year period, you can result at the end of that cycle as depressed. You can become anxious. You can become lost, confused, bitter, and even suicidal. What we must understand is one thing leads to another. What do we do with 2 and 2? We put it together. And that's contemplative intelligence. If you can give yourself enough space and time to be able to respond to what life is coming at you, that's your situations, conversations, events which are external to you. Instead of distraction, we want focus. We want to build awareness on our thoughts and what we're doing. So we want deeper, quiet reflection as opposed to clicking, swiping, and scrolling in a millisecond. It's the opposite. We need focus rather than mindlessness. We need mindfulness and to be able to use our intuitive wisdom. That's not visual, verbal, or auditory, but it's connected to a formless knowing that's inside you.